Hey vinyl community, what's up? I'm Robert Fithen, and today let's talk about records from the 1990s, back when everybody was getting rid of all their vinyl, or a lot of people were. There were some bands and artists that still kept the torch alive for vinyl records, and I think it's time some of them were saluted, at least the ones I have in my collection. Like Mike Watt. Remember Mike Watt? He was the bassist for Minutemen and Firehose. This was right after Firehose. He put out a solo album, but he's a bassist. So he got all of these help from all these incredible people. Dave Grohl's on here, Flea is on here, Mike D is on here, Jay Mascis is on here, Chris and Kurt Kirkwood, Pat Smear, it's endless. Henry Rollins, Epic Soundtracks, and Eddie Vedder on Against the 70s, which was the single, all about how you should stand up and be for today, not the 70s. So here we are in 2020 talking about the 90s. Beautiful blue vinyl. Both of the albums are like that with custom Columbia labels. So yeah, Mike Watt, great album all the way through. And, because it's just kind of all over the place because it's got all of these different people on there. It's really like one of those, old like TV show guest specials with, a little help from all my friends. Mike Watt there. Urge Overkill. I think I've showed this before in another video. This one's, I believe, Orange. These guys from Chicago. Great group of kind of power pop type stuff. Sister Havana was their big song. And Positive Bleeding, which are both on here. I think I heard these guys recently got back together again. But yeah, Urge Overkill. Another band that was no stranger to putting out vinyl in the 90s. Usually like this one, the vinyl is the same as the CD, artwork, so not a lot of surprises there. Hey, since I already showed that one, here's a different Urge Overkill. This is Supersonic Storybook. This is, today's Blackie's birthday is on here, and Manoline, but this is back when they were on Touch and Go, before they signed to Geffen, when they were still a indie Chicago band. Urge Overkill, Supersonic Storybook. More records from the 90s. If an image really sets off my experience in the 90s, it would probably be this one, Head in the Trash Can. Therapy is their name. Or Therapy? Because it's got the question mark. Lock Up the Knives. This is a great, really hard, kind of that hard rock, the mid-90s kind of, not so much grunge, but a little rougher, kind of between grunge and metal. A lot of bands were out at that time. Therapy was one of my favorites anyway. And this album not only has Knives on it, but green vinyl too. A lot of great songs. This is pretty much a good listen all the way through. And I found out these guys never really broke up. These guys together the whole time. Putting out independent label type stuff. Trigger Inside was their big song off here. Die Laughing is on here. So Therapy, Trouble Gum. 94, The Grifters. This is on Shangri-La. I thought this was on Sub Pop. This is on Shangri-La Records. These guys from Memphis, I believe. Kind of one of those noise rock, very, very much garagey kind of sound, independent 90s type thing going on there. One Sock Missing. I think this is their second album. Not as popular as their first, The Grifters. Also, The Grifters was a movie in the 90s with John Cusack and some other people. Oh, here we go. Now, David Bowie in the 90s, represented by Tin Machine. I think if you ask any David Bowie fan, if this isn't their favorite David Bowie album, it's probably in the top 3, Tin Machine. I mean, who doesn't love this album? What David Bowie fan wouldn't want to hear this again and again? They had, of course, Tin Machine 2, and oh my goodness, why no Tin Machine 3? This is on the generic EMI America label, but it does have the lyrics. Tin Machine 2 had that controversial cover where it had genitals on it, which would be the second time we had to take care of David Bowie's genitals painted on an album cover. It's like, dude, that's enough. Biohazard. This is like a hard, Brooklyn, from Brooklyn. This isn't the one with Tales from the Hard Side. That was always my favorite because we would just make up our own lyrics like, I had to get up because the batteries in the remote were dead. I had to actually change the channel on the TV. Tales from the Hard Side. But I don't think that's on here. Biohazard State of the World Address on wonderful orange vinyl. Yeah. Harsh stuff from New York City. 5 blocks from the subway is the one on there. Now Nirvana, of course, one of the bands that definitely kept vinyl alive in the 90s. Well, until 94. This is never mind an original from 91. It's in great condition. I love this. This is I've had this in a frame for many, many years, so it's in excellent condition, and you don't get the flip off. Oh yeah, you do. No, you don't get the middle finger on the vinyl version like you do on the CD. There's the DGC label, and really tight grooves on this one. Doesn't sound incredible. Kind of like some of the vinyl in the 90s. Like I Got Temple of the Dog is like that. Doesn't sound great because they try to compress CD length into a single LP. But yeah, Nirvana, never mind. If you're going to talk 90s, and like I said, Nirvana, no stranger to. Finally, I'll have some more in here in a minute here that I'll show. The Tube Bar. The Tube Bar. This is like an early version of like the Jersey Boys or whatever. Prank phone calls. And if you're going to hear prank phone calls, you want to do that on vinyl, the organic way. The way that prank phone calls were meant to be heard. On vinyl, the Tube Bar. I think this came out in 90. This is probably their only record. It's just people, the dumbasses calling some bar, and some guy keeps answering, and they do the old, is Al there? Al who? Alcoholic. You got Prince Albert in the can. You better let him out. It's just stupid stuff like that. And I used to go to this record store, and they would always be playing that. And people were like, what the hell is this? Oh, that's the Tube Bar. Oh, man, that's the greatest thing ever. And then like a few months later, it was in like the dollar bin or whatever. So I thought, okay, I'll pick this up to remember these days in this record store buy. Everclear, World of Noise. It's an early one from these guys on Capitol. This was originally on Tim Kerr label, but it got re-released for Capitol when they became popular. Nice clear vinyl there. Big ass promotional hole in it. But that's all right, and we have a lyric sheet in here as well, so you can sing along with Art of Lexicus. All right, Everclear, the what was it? Nervous and Weird on here, and yes, Nervous and Weird, Sick and Tired. Those are the two songs. Nervous and Weird, Sick and Tired. There you go. That's the 90s. The Genius Hands was another big kind of college track on there. Speaking of college. Sonic Youth put out they put out a lot of vinyl. Experimental Jet Set, Trash, and No Star. This is definitely not their best album or biggest album or anything. It's kind of been forgotten about. It was right there towards the end. Beautiful blue vinyl there from 1994. Sonic Youth, Experimental Jet Set, Trash, and No Star. And then Sonic Youth teamed up with the people, I think they're from the Boredoms, Yamatsuka I for or TV I or whatever. This album is just a mess of just noise, of just like screaming and tape loops and craziness. It's actually called TV Shit, and it's like a John Lennon album had a nightmare or something. But I think I'm too old for this. That's really what's going on here at this point. Too old for the Sonic Youth Boredoms collaboration there. Just a whole lot of noise. Here's something clever the Smithereens did in the 90s with vinyl. A Date with the Smithereens. You know that album they got back together with and everybody quickly then forgot about. They released that on a series of 45s here, just like the old days with the 78s. That was an album. It was an album full of single 78s. The Smithereens did that with their album called A Date with the Smithereens and released each song, or a couple songs on 45 with an old RCA Victor Living Stereo label, which, you know, looks a little bit different. The dog's smaller and the print's in blue. It's not trying to be authentic or anything. But yeah, A Date with the Smithereens, Living Stereo, probably some sort of homage to A Date with Elvis. Since I believe the Smithereens at this point had newly signed with RCA. Here's some more 45s too. Pearl Jam. Speaking of Elvis, Pearl Jam, the Beatles, doing what they used to do with Christmas singles and putting out fan club singles for Christmas time. And these, this is Angel and Ramblings. Ramblings is just him on stage talking about people throwing shoes at him. Poor guy, poor Eddie. And the other one, a double on there with History Never Repeats. Sonic Reducer, their version of Sonic Reducer is on here. And wow, yeah, that's a pretty good version. But Pearl Jam Christmas singles, bringing back the old Beatles tradition. I have a rap album. Soundtrack to Fresh. Never played this. It's on RCA, and it contains a remix of the from the Wu-Tang Clan. Got a rap album. I got a black box. Everybody, everybody. 5 different mixes of this. This was a huge hit in the 90s. And as you can see, that's a lot of everybody. That's not some of everybody. That's everybody, everybody. Everybody, everybody. Everybody, everybody, everybody. 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 Okay, now it's time for the Stone Temple Pilots. This is their 12 Gracious Melodies on their second album, Purple. So guess what color the vinyl is? It's purple. On the Ordinary Atlantic label. And again, kind of tight grooves on this. Kind of trying to make a CD length into an album. I do a whole rant on that on another video about, you know, when are we gonna fix that problem. But I remember back in the early 90s, or mid 90s, the Stone Temple Pilots weren't liked when they were first out by some people who thought they were kind of posers. They were the grunge posers, some people thought. And and then you had your camps, whether you were either Pearl Jam or Nirvana, you couldn't be both. It's always like that. It's like you got to be either the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. You can't be both. You got to be either Pearl Jam or Nirvana. You can't be both. You got to either, later on, Little Girls, you got to be either NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys. You can't be both. It's like, and then everybody's all managed by the same people. Fetus, I don't know much about these people, but it has crotch on it, so if I get a crotch album, I usually keep it. I don't even know what this is, really. I think they may be German because their song is Verklempt. Maybe a German group, 94 on Columbia. Looks like maybe hard techno. But, oh, wow. Well, there's that. But we do have lyrics on the back there. But Fetus is your generic red Columbia label. Some of the stuff you just pick up in the 90s and hang on to. Like, somebody thought that they could have success by putting this 6-song EP on vinyl from the band Fetus. All right, let's talk about a band that's a little more popular, like Tool. Tool's got kind of a, I don't know, kind of like an on-off relationship with vinyl. I mean, when they first came out, they were all about it. I mean, I got 2 versions of this. I have the original 2 LP version that came out in the 90s, and then they released this promotional one, this gray single disc of Undertow, and it doesn't have Disgustipated on it. That's too much music, so they left that track off. It's still really tight, and the double album for Undertow definitely sounds better. But yeah, Tool, and I showed this in another video, and I showed this one as well. And there was some controversy about this one because people were saying that this was never released officially. This is a bootleg. This is not a bootleg. This was released to radio stations as a promotional item. And I will open this up, take this completely off here for the first time. I'm going to open this up and show you what the inside of this looks like. This is an actual real Tool album. It's not a bootleg. from 96 or whenever this came out. And yeah, it has my fingerprints on it now for the very first time. Oh, it had been folded like that all these years. But there's the Bill Hicks thing. Back there, let's take the record out. And you can see that there is nothing on this label. But that does not mean that it is a bootleg. It is not. This was sent to a radio station that I worked at from the okay, I'm gonna do that later, from the record company themselves. So I doubt they would send me a bootleg. There is the other inner, and I'm assuming this has the same type of label, just the gray label. So there you go, nice thick glossy paper there. Nice Tool album. Notice I've gone this whole time, haven't said the name of this album. That's because there's no winning. There's no winning there. There's no winning. It's the other good one. That's the name of this album. I have 3 good ones. Alice in Chains. I think I showed this in a video before too. This is a little later from '95, so they have that nice matted finish on the album cover, like a lot of the later albums do, with that nice matte finish. And you'll notice the the inner here is the same thing that you get in the CD with the lyrics on there and the illustrations. And nice kind of variation on the Columbia label. You get a nice yellow one and then a purple one, which it's the same on the other record as well. And if you remember the CD, it kind of mimics that color scheme with the purple and yellow. As a matter of fact, I picked out the CD here so I could show you that. Yeah, so it's like the same thing on the labels, the purple and the bright yellow there. So we're going to move on with more Tool, sort of, a Perfect Circle. Now this is completely sealed, so I'm not going to open this. But this was kind of like the offshoot. It was kind of like Tool condensed down to like 4-minute radio-friendly songs. Judith was their was the single off of this, but the whole album is pretty good. But it sounds kind of like Tool light, you know, like I said, like 4-minute. If you like your 4-minute songs and you like Tool, you'll probably like A Perfect Circle. Here's the band live. I got a couple from them, a 10-inch single for Selling the Drama, and also their album Throwing Copper. A nice clear vinyl from Radioactive, from Live. They are from York, Pennsylvania, which is the same place the York Peppermint Patty is from. You don't remember Live? They are, pretty bad. Not very good at all. Kind of pretentious. And we're talking about all this 90s stuff. I want to take a break from the records for a second to show you the most 90s thing that I have. I grew up in the 80s. I was a young man in the 90s, and here is a marijuana hitter box that's disguised as a pager. Are you fooled by this? Yeah, hitter box disguised, supposed to look like a pager. You just have that right on your pocket out in the open, and nobody will know, except for, I'm not really sure that gray, silver, like, looking sticker on the top that's where the phone number is supposed to be for you youngins. I don't think that's not fooling anybody. So a little side note here, a 90s hitter box disguised as a pager. 90s. Okay, Monster Magnet, Power Trip, Never Gonna Work Another Day in My Life. It's the same as the CD, basically. Except for, this is literally the same. This is even the same size as the CD. They just broken it into 4 little panels there. You could probably fold that up and it looks exactly like the compact disc booklet. But yeah. Monster Magnet, Space Lord, Mother. Always wondered if that was originally something else. A&M original label there for Monster Magnet. These guys, only concert I ever promoted or tried to promote, bring to town, was Monster Magnet and Buck Cherry. And I'm telling you what, hats off to concert promoters, because that is not a job I ever want to be a part of again. I promised you more Nirvana. How long is this video by now anyway? Wow, I didn't realize I had so many. Picture disc. This is like, I think, the only picture disc, if not one of the only picture discs I have. with Come As You Are, and then a great live version of School, and the Endless Nameless, which is their hidden track on some of the Nevermind CDs. But that's how you get that track. If you really like that guitar noise and you want it on vinyl, it is available on the Come As You Are single and picture disc. This is just a regular good old... Oh, no, it's not. It's gold. Gold single for Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is the short version, which cuts out a little bit of music. And then you got Even in His Youth and Aneurysm on here. I like this version of Aneurysm a little more than the other one. Joan Jett Blackheart's trying to make a comeback with Pure and Simple. Didn't really accomplish it. Tried to present herself as the original Riot Girl, because that was big in the 90s. You Riot Girls. She got a song on here called, Rubber and Glue. Whatever I say, whatever you say to me bounces off me and sticks to you. I mean, what are we? Come on. Second grade over here. Pure and Simple. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. She went back to singing her old songs. She went back to singing the old ones. I think, wait a minute, this is actually, this is from the 80s. Whoops, Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper. Made a mistake and pulled this out. This is actually the 80s. But, comedy, goofy, off the wall kind of stuff. Your store don't have Mojo Nixon. Your store could use some fixing. That's the opinion of the dead milkman anyway. Another Nirvana. Got this at Vintage Vinyl. When they still had a Granite City store, there's a little Vintage Vinyl tag there. I want to say this is just a black vinyl. Yeah, this is just... But again, this is the original from when it was out. You know, they had these there in their racks, and I'm like, yeah, I want that on vinyl. And not too many other people did, you know. So now this has been re-released on 180 gram type, you know, and that one, all these originals are kind of sought after. Screamin' Trees anthology from the 80s, but you know the anthology was released in the 90s. A double album with which doesn't have a gatefold. You know, pretty generic looking. I mean, no liner notes, no sleeve, not even a picture of the band or anything. But Seattle band, they're not the best looking band anyway. It's all the music from the Screaming Trees. They kind of went away pretty quickly. They were getting big there for a while, and then just kind of nothing. Okay, for the last few here, just real quick. Screw Tractor. Anybody remember these guys? I think they're from Ohio or something, maybe. I don't know. Screw Tractor. Silly name. School of Fish had 3 Strange Days. This is their little EP here, live in LA. Features them doing That's All Right, Mama, Taking Care of Business, and George Michael's father figure from School of Fish. Soundgarden. Got to give it up to Soundgarden because these guys came out with Super Unknown and put a bonus track on there that was not on the CD or cassette called She Likes Surprises. And suddenly, everybody was wanting my vinyl. Everybody wanted to hear that song. Oh, well, I thought you were making fun of me for collecting records. Now all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, play your Soundgarden. I want to hear that She Likes Surprises song. Okay, so what we got here? Richard Thompson. No Linda, just Richard. Solo with the song, what was it? Feel So Good was, I think, the attempt at a single here. But I don't think Richard Thompson's not a singles kind of guy. He's kind of a, you know, you get your favorite latte and check him out. I think the further he gets away from sounding like normal music, I think the better. I like his more eclectic he gets, the better. And the Gigolo Ants. Wrapping it up randomly with an album from a band called the Gigolo Ants. I could have shown, I guess, the Best Kissers in the World or the, the Figs or something. I have their albums too. Okay, so since we've seen the Gigolo Ants, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Got more 90s records, but it's a long enough video as it is. So thank you so much for watching. What are some of your favorite 90s albums that are on vinyl that you have? Because there's not a lot of 90s it's kind of like that gray area where people kind of were, like I said, getting rid of their vinyl, and there were only a few bands putting stuff out. Do you have any original stuff from the 90s? Were you collecting records in the 90s? Let me know in the comment section. Please subscribe if you haven't not done that already, and I will promise to keep making you great vinyl videos and other music related stuff as well. Next video I have coming up is going to be a retrospective of something I just did. I just binge watched the entire U.S. Festival from 1983. So my review of that is coming up as well. And yeah, obviously, you don't want to miss that. I'm Robert Fithen. Once again, thank you so much for watching.